with Intention podcast where we bring you stories from around the globe. Hello, and welcome to another episode on Rise and Thrive Mornings with Intention. And today I have a beautiful guest with me, Melissa Range. Welcome to our podcast, dear.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here with you today.
Thank you so much. Melissa, please tell us a little bit about yourself and where are you from, please?
Sure, I am from the Midwest in the state of Missouri. I am a single mother. I have three children. They are 21, 19, and 17. And I have been mentoring people for the last 8 years. And I started my spiritual journey about 15 years ago, and it has just been the most amazing time of my life, especially since I got divorced. I never dreamed I'd be where I am at today.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for being here. And we are very eager to hear more about your stories in depth. So, first of all, congratulations on becoming number one international best-selling author. And that's what we're going to talk about today more.
Thank you so much. I know it's so exciting.
Do you have the book, by the way? No?
I am waiting for the book. The book is supposed to arrive today at my doorstep.
Oh, that's so exciting. I remember the first time I got mine, I was like, oh, like a kid in the candy store.
No, it's
So the
wonderful.
name of the book is The Other Side of Divorce, Breakups That Lead to Breakthroughs. So congratulations once again. And the book is on Amazon. So for those who are listening, we will be posting the links to the website as well. So, but let's dive into the book a little bit. So your journey to more. So the name of your what is the name of your chapter in the book,
Yep.
please?
From frozen to fired up.
I love that. When I saw that, I was like, wow, that is such a strong title. So, as a fired up mom, mentor, and a mystic, what was the turning point in your divorce that sparked your transformation and desire for more?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think after this realization that I knew, not knowing what to do in my marriage because I felt I was tapped out of solutions, I had surrendered to what I call my higher power, a divine source. And once I did that, the what would I call it? The path was opened up to where to go next. And it was to leave my marriage because there were no more solutions. It was time to leave. And that my transformation, though, had already started even before then because I had joined a recovery group called Al Anon. And I had been in that group for about 14 months. And what they do in that group is they don't tell you what to do. And so I was figuring it out for myself, but I had opened up my consciousness, is what I had really done. And I had started having faith and trust that I was being guided. It was very small, but that just led to me leaving my marriage and then knowing that I needed to continue the work and the transformation on myself because I was so broken and I was so insecure and I didn't have the confidence that I had before I was married. And so that's truly when the transformation began, was even before I left. And I love talking about all the time. I love telling people when you make a commitment or you make a decision to do something for yourself, invest in yourself, the universe starts working on you before you even really step into that space. So that's how it began for me. And from there, I think over the last 15 years, there has been transformation after transformation after transformation. It's like peeling an onion. We get to go deeper and deeper into that healing journey and discovering more of who we are, what drives us, what makes us happy, what our feelings and everything.
Wow. So I myself have unfortunately also been through a divorce, and I know some emotions come with that. So how did your inner strength and intuition guide you through the emotional ups and downs that do tend to happen?
So, part of the wonderful piece of my recovery program in Al Anon is you have a sponsor. And when I would get really angry or really frustrated or really upset, a lot of times I would call my sponsor and I would talk to her. Or one of the greatest tools that I think if people could implement, journaling. Journaling for me has been one of the most powerful things that I have ever done. And I've been journaling, oh my gosh, for like 30 years. And so I have a whole bin of journals. And so I think that is a really powerful tool is if you can go sit down once a day, even if it's just for a few moments, and write down your emotions. The other tool that I think is very critical and important is I would go into nature very frequently without my cell phone, and I would walk in nature and I would cry, or I would sit under a tree with my back against a tree and I would feel that emotion. And it doesn't mean I could always articulate what it was. Was it rage? Was it grief? Was what was really, but I would just sit with it and allow it to be with me versus what I used to do, which was stuff it. It was to shove
Mm.
the emotion down within me and say, oh, it's okay, or that didn't affect me, or that didn't hurt my feelings. Because I for so long denied how I felt. And what ended up happening was I got horrible carpal tunnel in my hands and wrists. And this had been going on for years. So I know that when we don't express emotion, we manifest it in our bodies. And it will tell us eventually where we are stuck or the energy is stagnant. And after leaving my husband a few years later, my carpal tunnel was completely gone. So that was, and part of doing that allowed my intuition to become more honed when I was allowing my emotions to be with me and not stifling them and not suppressing them. I mean, I remember, and it still happens sometimes, the emotion would get stuck right here and I could feel this lump in my throat. And it was almost like I couldn't say something or I couldn't cry. And over time, I think then I cried for years and I would cry at so many things because I was just, and it wasn't that I was crying at that one thing. It was, I was crying about years of stuff that was stuck within me. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's really important to express our feelings.
I truly believe that too because the way you were ex just explaining, I'm like, oh my God, that was me for so many years as well because I went through a lot of things too. One of them was divorce, but for me it wasn't the divorce that played such a huge impact. It was me moving from one country to another. And as a teenager, I couldn't cope with a lot of things. And one of them also was not, I didn't know any English at that time. So I ended up doing the same thing, stuffing those emotions deep down inside as far as I could, because when I first would feel them, I would feel like sick and that. And then I was like, you know what? Suck it up, just, put them aside, shove them as far as you can, you'll be fine. And I was on neutral for so many years. Well, guess what happens after that? It eventually wants to surface. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I know that feeling all too well when we try to stuff something underneath and then it comes right back up in our face, sometimes twice as much hard. So I
Mm-hmm.
know it all too well. So thank you for sharing that. It really helps. So now you had to rebuild confidence and self-worth at some point. So as a mentor, what powerful mindset shifts helped you reclaim your confidence, and how do you now support other women in doing the same?
So about I think it was 2011, my sister reached out to me and she said, "Oh my gosh, Melissa, I found this coach and I think you should go to his program." And so I said, "Okay, when is it?" And of course, it was within 3 weeks. And I was at this woman's house listening to this coach who, and I talk about this in my book, he's a subconscious mind coach. You would have never heard of him. He calls himself like a little dot on the map. He's somebody that's been doing this for many, many years. And he was all about changing the mindset. And he doesn't use the word mindset, he uses the word perception. So he's
Mhm.
all about changing your perception. But what we have to do is get into the subconscious mind and then change and shift what's in there so that our perception externally will shift and change. So I started following this man literally around the country. And every time my children were at their father's home for the weekend, I would get in my car or get on a plane and I would fly to wherever he was doing a seminar. And what he teaches is through affirmation, and he also teaches through speaking to us and getting us to see things from a different perception. And I would take notes, and then on the weekends after I get home I'd reprocess the notes. So this really started a completely new journey for me to remember my confidence and to remember what I was capable of and moving forward, because he's always talking about what do you want to see happen in your future. So he was always impressing that upon us. And he was really good at making me shift my consciousness. I mean, I would come home and I would be so exhausted from his seminars because my consciousness was shifting. And so I think I have several hundred affirmations now, and that really opened a door about what was possible for me and how I could change those innermost beliefs about the negative self-talk and the perceptions of I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I don't matter. Because in my marriage, those beliefs had been impressed on me so deeply, and I needed to get out of that cycle of thinking those things. And before I was married, I didn't think a lot of stuff like that. But once I was married, for all those years, that's kind of what happened. But what I ended up doing when I started mentoring people, well, first of all, that went on for years where I followed this coach around. I then went and got certified as a firewalk instructor. And that was huge for me. That was 8 years ago this week actually. And I got in my car, I drove to Texas, and I went through a 4 day intensive, not just where we walked on hot coals many times, but I also did many other activities that really, what I call, pushed my edge. And this caused me to witness not only other people's transformation, but my own. And every time I was with the fire, it was transmuting fear. It was transmuting my insecurity. It was transmuting so many things within me that needed to come to the surface and be let go of, or burned away, we could call it, burned away. But we didn't just do the firewalking. We walked on 12 feet of broken glass. We broke arrows with our necks. We broke boards and bricks. We did so many things, and I didn't know any of that would happen. And then when I got home from that, 7 weeks later, I went to Akashic record reading school. And in Akashic record reading school, I found out that I was a medium and had mediumship abilities. So from there, when I started mentoring people, I started to teach them about what I had learned, giving them some affirmations, getting to the crux of what was in their subconscious mind, helping them take action on everything that they wanted for their lives in order to change. And I was the person that would hold them accountable. And I was also the person that would celebrate them when they would go do that scary thing that they wanted to do, but they were too afraid. And I'm one of these people where I will push you. I will push you to do what you want to do in order to get what you want to get, and hold your feet to the fire, you could say.
Wow, that is so amazing. I mean, you usually just read about these things, so I've never really talked to anybody who actually walks on fire, does all these things. But I do must say that I've taken karate classes for many years and we've never broken wood or anything. But when I did Tony Robbins, one of his events, I actually did break the a piece of wood that he showed us the steps how to do it, and I was like, holy crap, I did it. So yeah, those are the amazing moments. So one day I'm pretty sure I can take on the walking on the fire because I've thought about it. I just never had an opportunity to learn, right? This is so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Love to see some picture from that if you have any at some point.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yes, yes, yes. I know. And I'm hoping I will be able to lead a fire walk here in my area with another fire sister in May.
Well, keep us posted because I definitely would love to learn more. Setting boundaries and embracing self-care. What boundaries became non-negotiable for you post-divorce, and how have you helped you thrive more in life?
That is a great question. The boundaries, yes, I believe are very critical in our lives, especially if we've been through a divorce where our our ex-partner is really someone who doesn't want to comply to the boundaries. For me, a lot of it was taking myself out of reacting or being reactive to anything that was going on where he would escalate things. And so, for example, email was a very safe way to keep in contact, not in person, only email or only texting. And I think that's really important for women to not get into a situation where you're in the physical presence of that person who maybe is trying to manipulate you or trying to get you to do something that you're uncomfortable with. So for me, pulling myself back and not feeling guilty about doing it a different way or maybe an unconventional way. And so that was one of my very strict boundaries, was sending emails was a safe and effective way to get my message across, not giving a lot of information. The other piece is saying no to people. That is something that is an extremely important boundary for me. No is a full sentence. And I started to remove myself from certain things in my life that were overwhelming me or they were causing me too much stress, because as a single mom of three children and doing everything, taking care of my elderly parents and maintaining a home and working and making sure that I was a present mother, there was a lot of things that I started to have to say no to. And those were boundaries I created. I had to learn how to create those because I felt really guilty about not doing certain things. Because as a mom, people are always wanting you to help out with this activity or that. But over time, I learned how valuable I was and how much I needed to make myself a priority. Because, and I say this all the time, if I wasn't putting the oxygen mask on myself first, then I could not take care of anybody in my environment that really needed me. And my children needed me. And as my parents got sick and aged, they needed me, and I wanted to be there for them. So saying no, that was a very important boundary that I put in place. And then another boundary that I started to put in place was not necessarily feeling like I had to do all things for all people. So there would be clients that wanted to come into my life, and I sometimes knew I wasn't meant to mentor them or didn't want to mentor them because the connection didn't feel right for me. And so I never felt afraid to tell somebody, I don't think we're a good fit. And I never was worried that if I turned that client, potential client away, that I wouldn't have somebody else come in and work with me. But I know over the last 15 years, the self care and the making myself a priority has been so hugely important for me. And when I say that, people always say, well, what does that look like? Well, it means for me meditation. It means going into nature when I need to go into nature without my cell phone. It means going to get a pedicure once a month or exercising in a way that makes my body feel good, eating healthy, drinking good water, getting a massage, reading a really good book, and not worrying about anything else. These are all little things that I can do to replenish my energy and fill my cup, because I know people are always needing me, excuse me, or wanting me to help them. But I have to take care of Melissa first. And
Okay.
people people will think, oh, but that's so selfish, especially women. Women, we think that's so selfish. I need to be doing something for somebody else or taking care of others. But I have now learned, and it's so ingrained in me, I don't even think about it anymore, but I'm thinking I go to my recovery meetings, I go to the gym, or I go take a walk. I'm important and I matter and I need to take care of me. And that actually helps those boundaries as well, because like my children, so this is one thing, every single morning when I wake up, I make myself a cup of tea, I sit in my room and I pray, I do meditations, and I journal. This is every morning. It's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And my children know not to bother me. They do not come in the room. They do not, and I specifically taught them, do not bother me. And actually I used to get up before my children and pray and do all that before. And now if I'm doing something, like I had my priestess class this past 7 weeks, and I would tell my children, do not come and bother me at these times because I'm doing my class and I'm taking, the time for 2 hours. So you are not allowed in my room. And that's a boundary. That's a boundary.
Healthy boundaries, yeah, have to be established. Yeah. And like they say, you can't pour from an empty cup. So you have to take care of yourself first, right? So, how did your personal journey then through divorce fuel your passion for mentoring and empowering other women? Like, what was it that made you was like, I want to help other women now? Was there something there?
I think I've known since a little girl that women were never treated equally. I've known that women were always looked at by men and by society as not as valuable or worthy. And I felt that growing up. I felt that being raised in Catholicism. I felt that watching my parents in their marriage, and I felt that in the classroom at school. I felt always that women were never treated as equals as men. And so even from a little girl, there was always me trying to be the best version of myself and competing actually against boys. I was highly competitive. I was always playing sports, competing against boys to push, like, and what was happening was they were pushing me without realizing it to be this strong version of myself. And as I shared with you before we began, that kind of put me in a lot of masculine energy. And I learned to be in my masculine energy and learn how to operate that way. But then when I went to go get my divorce, and then I started to go into my feminine journey, I realized, oh my gosh, there's this whole other part of me that needs to be discovered, and it needs to be nurtured, and it needs to come to the surface. And so I think I've known for a long time that I really need to remind women of their divinity, of their unlimited possibilities, of their beauty, their intelligence, their wisdom. And what I just even finished studying in the last 7 weeks was a reminder about women bring life into the world. We are so powerful that we are a portal to bring life into the world. And men can't do this. They cannot bring a life into existence. Women can, and we are such powerful beings. And I think women completely have forgotten their value, worth, and power. And that we can do things that we don't think are possible, that we are capable. And so that just fueled my fire to help women. And I saw that too during my marriage. I saw the fact that my husband at the time, he didn't know how to support me as a feminine. He didn't know how to do that. And actually, I didn't even know how to teach him to do it because I didn't know how to do it for myself. And so now when I work with women, it's all about reminding them of their power, their feminine power. And that doesn't mean I'm better than, or it means that I am an equal. to the masculine, and that I have a purpose, a mission, and I'm a powerful creator as well, a creatrix. And so that's what I help to instill and remind women of, that inherent power and their intuition, how critical that
Mm.
is and how valuable that is.
Wow, that's such great insights, Melissa. So now, advice for women who want more, but many women stay stuck in fear. They're unsure if they want or can deserve more. What is one advice or a couple more that you would say to a woman who is feeling lost right now? What would one thing you would say to that woman?
I would say sit down with a pen and a piece of paper and write down what you want for your life. What do you desire? And it doesn't matter how silly or crazy or ridiculous it may seem to you, just write it down. And this is an exercise that I would tell all my clients to do. Write down what you desire, from the smallest thing, like I just want to sit in a chair and read a novel, or I want to put my rain boots on and jump in puddles in the rain, or I just want to get a massage, or I want to travel to this country, whatever. But just sit down for a few moments, because what that will do will help you to see what is possible. And even though in this moment it may not seem remotely possible, but it is possible. And if you take those few moments to start discerning what you want, the universe will come in and start to begin to help you to take the steps to go for it.
And you have to keep the momentum going, not just do it once, but like, and then 2 days later go by and you're feeling the same, go back and do it again and then again. And I feel like more will come. The doors in the universe will start opening it up for you, right?
Yes.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So one final question, and we touched a little bit on this, but the name of the podcast is Rise and Thrive Mornings with Intention. How important do you think it is to set intention first thing in the morning?
Oh, I think it's very, very important. It's critical. And I think I shared that with you earlier, how I begin my day every day. And that's even when I'm on vacation. That's when I do that every day, because for me, it sets the tone for everything else that I do throughout the day. And I know this because I have practiced it over and over and over. So I think it's critical. And for people that feel as though that would be too overwhelming, oh, I don't have time, then do something just very small in the morning. It could only take maybe 2 or 3 minutes, where you just maybe say some prayers or do something like a Tai Chi or a Qi Gong movement, or something to open up your energetic space and give thanks. Even a gratitude list first thing in the morning to start your day in gratitude. That can take a couple of moments to just write down 5 things you're grateful for. I do mine at night before bed, but I think it's very important to answer your question.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Melissa, and thank you so much for being on our podcast today. Any last words of advice or how people get in touch with you?
Well, if you're wanting to get in touch with me, you can go to my Facebook page, Melissa K. Range on Facebook. And no, I just think grab a copy of the book if you're somebody that's going through a divorce or have gone through a divorce. I think you will find some extremely valuable information in there from all the authors who have walked through something that you're going through. And it's so important for us to make connections and not to feel alone, because you're not alone. And there are other people who have walked the same path, not in your shoes, but have walked a similar path. And maybe you can glean some helpful information from this book.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us here today. And I wish everybody a wonderful day and see you guys soon again. Thank you, Melissa, for being here with us.
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you. Take care.